Hey, it's Orit Krug here. Feeling fresh today, got my hair done, and just excited to be here. But at the same time, I was writing this headline for this video, and my heart started beating faster. And I was like, "Ooh, what's that about?" So I think this is going to be a pretty personal share for me today. In terms of like when I wrote daddy issues, I was like, ooh, okay, there's something there for me still. So yeah, let's just be transparent, because marrying your father is such, in a heterosexual relationship is such a common issue for women who've had really strained relationships with their dads, whether it was abusive, whether they felt neglected or abandoned emotionally by their fathers. And so I personally went through many relationships in my life where I dated my father over and over again, just so I could heal the relationship with my dad in a way that wasn't possible with my real dad. And most of the time that was a dead end for me, because my dad was emotionally available growing up. He was really temperamental. He had a very short temper, and he was very dismissive of me. As I grew up, he was just very, very stressed all the time. And so dating men like that is gonna be a dead end 99% of the time, because they were emotionally unavailable, and I just wanted them to love me, and they weren't available for that. So now, as you probably know, if you know me, I'm married to my husband, Aaron. And while I don't feel like I married my dad with him, he definitely has some similar traits. He can be short-tempered. He can be really tough and rough around the edges. And so when we first started dating, I was so triggered a lot of the time. My puppy is snoring, if you're getting snoring in the background. I was so triggered, and I thought he was going to explode any minute, and I was just waiting for that all the time. And I definitely brought in so many daddy issues, to the point where I drove us apart, because, even though I knew this guy is not my father, and I don't mean literally, even though I knew he wasn't my father, my body and my nervous system was no, on the defense, on guard. I can't get hurt like this again. This is not going to work out. Look how much I got hurt in the past with my dad. And so that just came in all the time. It wasn't until I did the work to heal the trauma from that relationship that, to be honest, today, there's still such a wall. We still don't really have a relationship, talking about me and my dad. It's very, very superficial. I still feel like I have to walk on eggshells just to not I don't know what might happen. And I don't know where I was going with that, but I was able to still heal from that trauma, and from that, just when I was doing the real deep work, I had a huge meltdown, because I realized, or I had this epiphany, that my father never wanted me. Because I was an accident. They didn't plan on having me. And he was, I have two older brothers, so I was a third child, and I was already there was already so much stress for him to keep up and provide for the family. And so I struggled with my whole life, feeling like he didn't really want me. And that's really hard. Like, that's even hard to say today. It's emotional. And I actually don't really believe that anymore. Like, for a lot of different reasons, I've worked through that. But that just kept coming back up in my relationship with Aaron, like in my marriage even. If things were going wrong, if there was conflict, I was like, oh, maybe he doesn't really want me. It feels, I've said this to him before, like several times, like it feels like I'm just a nuisance to you. Like I'm just a bother to you, you know? And that's how I felt with my dad my entire life. Like, if I tried to be affectionate or show him love or, you know, give him a hug even, like the simplest ways of showing him love, if he was in a bad mood, like he'd be like, give me some space, like get away. And so I always felt like a nuisance and like a burden with my dad. And so I would say that to Aaron when he was frustrated, when maybe he was upset and had nothing to do with me. I'd be like, I'd make it about me, and it wasn't about me. And I'd say, I just feel like, you know, maybe I'm a burden. You don't really want me. And I projected all of these past repressed traumas and issues with my dad onto my relationship. And, you know, it wasn't fair. It really wasn't fair to Aaron, because I know I'm the most important person in the world to him, and he loves me more than anything in this world. And for years, I was like, I feel like you don't love me. I feel like you don't really care that I'm here. And he would be in tears because he'd be like, I don't know what to do to convince you that you are the love of my life. And when we do that, like when we are so concerned with being rejected or neglected, when we're bringing so much of the past into our current relationship, it makes us emotionally unavailable, because we're just thinking about ourselves and protecting ourselves and not even taking in or giving the love that's right here in front of us. And when I was overly concerned about my needs and my potential abandonment with my husband because of my daddy issues, I was completely unavailable to him. Like, what? I thought all these men were emotionally unavailable to me, and it turns out I'm the one who's emotionally unavailable. That was like, whoa. And yeah, I think this was just so important to really look within and feel that and realize that, because we can spend our entire lifetime, our entire relationship, we can break up our own marriage just because we are projecting our daddy issues onto our current relationship. And you didn't actually marry your father. If you did, this would be a totally different video, right? But perhaps you married someone who has the same traits or similar traits or triggers you in the same way. And that doesn't mean that you married your father and that they're not available to love you and that it's, you know, a dead-end relationship, or it's just going to be like, you know, it's just going to be kind of like superficial. There's a wall there, like I still have with my dad. Things can be different. Things can be different now. And when you work on your own trauma that you keep bringing into your relationship from your past, then it does become different, because your nervous system isn't reacting the same way as if you're interacting with your father, right? Or those traits that really triggered you. You're not stuck in this fear of rejection or abandonment or feeling like I'm not lovable or I'm not wanted. And so that's why it's so important to heal this trauma from your nervous system and from your body, and make sure that your brain and your body knows that what happened in the past was and is in the past, and what's happening right now between me and you, meaning between me and my partner, is completely different. It might feel the same in some ways, but it's not the same. It's not the same relationship. And there's, you know, I'm talking right now and telling you what I've realized, the insight that I've gained, you know, from my mind right now. But it took so much more than realizing and having that insight of, oh shit, like I'm the emotionally available one, emotionally unavailable one. Like this is what's going on in my relationship. Having that insight is great. It's a really necessary first step, but you have to do this work in your body, in your nervous system, because nothing changes, nothing releases that trauma until you access it from that part of your body that you're storing it in. This is why you might want things to be different. You might be like, yes, I'm going to stop bringing my daddy issues into this relationship. But when it comes down to the moments where your partner has, you know, gets frustrated or is upset and you're like, oh my God, why? Or like, maybe they want to leave, maybe I'm not good enough, and you get into that whole spiral. That's why that keeps happening, even though you have the intention with your mind to be different, to feel different. You can't just feel different from realizing something in your mind. These feelings are all throughout our bodies. When I was just talking about my daddy issues, my heart was like, whew, and like, you know, like I feel a little shaky from it. It's pretty vulnerable for me. So we feel it in our bodies, it's in our bodies, we need to work through it in our bodies. And that is the only way that things are really going to shift in a lasting way so that we can have a lasting, loving relationship with our partners. And I want to offer you a free and obligation-free relationship review so that I can help you map out the exact steps that you need to take in order to release that trauma from your nervous system, from your body, rewire your nervous system so that you are wired for love and connection, and you're not stuck in that fear cycle all the time. Even when you're triggered, you don't, you know, your body doesn't hijack you, and you know, like, yes, maybe you know in your mind right now that, oh yeah, this is not my father, but you need to change your hippocampus. You need to change that part of your brain to really know that the hurt that I experienced with my dad in the past is in the past, and the hurt that I'm experiencing right now with my partner is different. There's no way to distinguish that unless your brain and body are on board. So if you want to know the exact steps that you need to take, we'll map that out together. And whether you decide to take those next steps with me or my team or not, you'll leave with amazing clarity about what you need to do to save your relationship, to heal it, to transform it, and make it better than the one that you had with your father or the ones that you had all after that, and make it the best relationship that you've ever had, even if you and your partner currently have been stuck in the same pattern of negativity, of fighting, of avoidance. No matter how long that's been, you can change that. You can rewire yourself for love and connection and free yourself from the past and free yourself from those past stories that are still coming into your relationship. So click on that link to the side, above or below, depending on where you're watching. And I would love to talk to you soon. So thanks for joining. And until next time, it's your time to be able to let in love. Bye.